Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to MERTEC and to this session, How to Leverage Artificial Intelligence to Deliver Best-in-Class Customer Experience. Courtney Gifford is an integrated content marketing professional and lead digital project manager with over 7 years of media, digital, and advertising experience. Formerly the lead digital project manager for Lifetime Inc., Courtney recently joined Caribou Coffee as their digital engagement and loyalty marketing manager. Andrew Robbins, a product visionary and Patronix's team leader, Andrew motivates his team to be innovative, maintain focus, and serve customers beyond their wildest expectations. He has earned engineering degrees and a graduate business degree from some of the nation's most prestigious universities, Princeton, MIT, and Harvard. Please welcome Courtney Gifford and Andrew Robbins for this interactive workshop.
You come down.
All right, thank you. You can hear us okay? All right.
Awesome.
And I'm Andrew, CEO, co-founder of Patronix.
And I'm Courtney. I'm a digital and loyalty marketer for Caribou Coffee based in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And I always like, when I go to a trade show, to know I'm going to leave and have something to tell people when I get back. So like, what are the 3 things you learned when you were at the show? So before you leave, you will know how a machine learning algorithm works, because all of you will be data points and part of the computation for the algorithm. And we're going to do that as a live demo in just a bit.
Yeah.
And then you'll find out how we use it. And Courtney uses this a lot at Caribou. Okay. Who knows? Just raise your hand. Does anybody know anything about AI? We got some people. And does anybody go so far as to know machine learning algorithms? Do we have an expert to stump us in this?
Yeah.
We got maybe one.
Awesome.
We definitely got one. All right. So you've all used it, and one place you've used it is at Netflix or Hulu or one of the streaming channels, and it's the recommendations. And it goes like, people like you like this. So if you look at mine, these are mine. Maybe it's a little embarrassing, but I've been watching a ton of anime, so that gets me Cowboy Bebop. And I like some crime dramas, so that's Marcella, and different animation. So you see they're looking at what I'm looking at, and we'll explain how this works.
Yep. So
The people like you like this. The first piece of that is a segmentation. It's people like you. Mm-hmm. And so they're doing some level of segmentation to find groups of people that share your interests. And you've done it. You might have done it in marketing and say, hey, find me all the people who spend more than $50. Find me all the people who buy a certain type of item. That's a human-driven segmentation, but a computer-driven one is just find me groups of people who are very similar. Mm-hmm. And the other piece of this is recommendation. So what they do is they find the segment you're in, they find the most popular things watched by that segment, they take out the things you've already watched, and that's your recommendation. So pretty simple. People like you like this. And we're going to focus on something called k-means clustering, and you'll know what this means mm-hmm. before we go. And now we're on for the live demonstration. Yeah. Oh, well, before we do that, so if you look at this, think of RFM and think of clustering. So when you look at that, the x-axis frequency, the y-axis is your total spend, right? And you see the dots that kind of go at a 45-degree angle? Those are people who spend your check average. And it's just more frequent groups of people. And your eye can pick things out. So we would run k-means on this, and it would find a group, and as you can see, the group in the top, and then we would look at what they buy. And you might find they buy a party platter. They mm-hmm. buy a bunch of catering items. That makes sense. Those are catering people. And then you have your big spenders. You have along that angle, the low value, high potential, the sort of superstars. Yeah. and then the deal cravers who are just always going in for coupons at the bottom right. Now, that makes a lot of sense, right? But you could see those data points. You could see how they were clustered. And you could either do an RFM, or we would give it to the computer, and it would cluster people, including the menu items, to help bring forward the cluster so your marketers could see it. So that's clustering. Now you're in the computer. You're all data points. So on the wall, you'll see miles from where you're born. So everybody here has to come up with two numbers. How far do you live today? Not in Vegas, right, but your home today. How far is that from where you were born or grew up? And the second number is how long have you continuously lived at that location? So I grew up in the Newton area, or Weston. I moved to New Jersey, Connecticut, Atlanta, and I live in Newton, which is 8 miles away. And I've been there 25 years. So I'm basically 0 miles. And if you look at the wall over there, you'll see miles going across. And I'm 25 years, so I'm kind of near the camera. So that's my data point. I would be there. Great. Robin? Robin, yeah. Cool. So everybody's going to get up and go to their place in just a second. Before you do that, grab the colored paper. As you see here, there's 4 sheets.
And if you don't have colored paper, let us know, and we'll bring it over.
And then you're going to be asked to raise the color paper that matches the flag that's closest to you. And there'll be 3 flags. And so we were close to the yellow, so we'll hold the yellow.
Yep. All right.
And this will take about 10 minutes, and then you'll all know how it works.
Yep. All righty. So we'll be yellow. I'll go to my yellow location. So I am.
Yeah. Well, like get into the.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
You don't want to move?
Well, no, 3,008. I'm just saying.
Okay. Wow. All right.
You ready? We can go California, Boston.
Okay. So I see a
Yeah.
lot of
How many
people
miles to go?
Yeah, I am
0 years
California
that are far from home.
and Minnesota. So I'm like
Perfect.
I'm like a little bit in, but 5 years. What are you?
Okay.
Okay, so we're like equal. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so now
All
you
right.
want to raise the color that matches.
So we will be yellow. So if you're kind of in like this section,
Cool, and
Over
orange
here.
equals red. Perfect.
great.
All right. So that's actually K nearest neighbor. So you picked your nearest neighbor, and now the flag moves to the centroid. So it moves to the center of the segment.
So it's probably right about here.
So that's good. Andrew, want to move over a little bit and back. All right. And then put down your paper and computer algorithm recalculate. Find the flag you're nearest to.
All right, so if you're yellow, come closer.
All right.
No, they don't have to
Oh, they don't go. Or they can go to. They don't-
Cool.
Or they can go to their blue if they're closer to blue.
All right.
No, we'll move. The flags will move.
Yeah.
And then, great. And then the flags move to the center of the centroids. So Rich, you probably are pretty close. You're probably in a little bit, the red, the blue. Okay.
Yeah.
So now don't anybody move, but amongst your group of flags, you have to come up with the name of your market segment. Like, how do you characterize yourselves? So how would you name your segment? Like this group is they're the wanderers or something, right? You're far from home, and you just got there. So think of your name, And Rich, include this side. Okay. Okay. So Rich. Okay. All right, do you guys have a name for your group?
So we have like
Go ahead.
sure. We kind of have a split group where we have the wanderers, the far from homes over here, and then the stable
Okay.
group. So there is some
So there's tension in this segmentation, and we don't have enough segments. How about the red group? Did you guys come up with a good name and the close to home? And that feels about right for most of you. How about the blue group? Homebodies. Failure to launch.
Failure to launch.
Okay, so now I need a fourth flag. So we got a fourth flag, and it doesn't matter. So like Nish, why don't you come forward quite a bit? Okay, great. So we're going to do it again. So K is the number of segments. So we picked 3. And it was pretty good, but it didn't work over here. So now we're going to do k-means clustering with 4. And it shouldn't matter where the flags are. So hopefully this works. So, all right, so everybody calculate. So pick the flag you're closest to and raise your, and it can be different, right? Because like you may have been yellow now, but Nish is closest to you. So, all right. Yeah, so, and this really happens. Okay, so now the centroids are going to move. So Rich is going to slide over a little bit. Nish needs to move back a little bit. And you moved in a little bit, okay. And so now, my gosh, blue took over the world. The blue flag is winning. So now we want everybody to recalculate. Yep, so we got some more of you should be yellows, I think. Yep. Cool, and then people move to the centroid. The flags move, so Nish, you move back a little bit. And Andrew, take a couple steps that way, I think. You're probably in the right spot. And then you recalculate. You guys are the best computer data points ever. And then you hold them up again, right? And we recalculate it. I think we're about in the right spot, okay? And now you guys, the white, name your group, and you guys name your groups.
We're like a GUI. We'll give you an acronym. We'll call them the Don't Look Back. Let's call that Don't Look Backward.
That's not bad. Don't look back. Yep.
Yeah, so Robin, you want to ask everybody their names?
Everybody got their names?
Which one are we doing?
What's your group?
All right. Good.
Don't look back.
Don't look back.
Don't look back.
Don't look back. They moved 3,000 miles from home and have been there for 30 years. Don't look back. I love it.
Yellow, what's your name?
Far from home. Far from home.
Far from
Fantastic.
home for yellow.
And did we have the red team and the blue team? And then,
Red team, what's your name? Not too far from mom. Not too far from mom.
perfect. Yeah, you could be the boomerangs, the yo-yos as well.
Blue team, what's your name?
I think they've stuck with failure to launch.
Yeah.
Failure launch is the blue team.
All right, so that's it. That's K-means clustering. So give yourself a round of applause.
Ready? Yeah?
Okay, So you can tell people you were part of the largest crowdsourced machine learning, human-powered machine learning algorithm ever. And that's kind of the heart of the algorithm, how it works. And you know it works when you've got the right number of clusters that it matters to a marketer. And there's a real art to doing that, but you can imagine that we might want to market to different groups of people based on this. So people who just reached a new place, they might want to do a lot of the things for that city because they need to get up to speed quickly and make that city their home. And there are other people that have been there forever, and you don't want to tell them about those tourist spots because they've lived their whole lives with it, right? So you really can come up with meaningful segmentations. And then, and did people, if you want to raise your hands, who thought that the segment matched kind of who they were in the, okay. And there was a pretty big difference for this group between having 3 flags and 4 flags. And that's really typical. Okay. So that's k-means clustering. The k is the number of segments. There's a whole science to picking the number of segments, and there's a whole set of things ahead of time. So for example, we could have segmented on, are you a restaurateur or a vendor? And if we'd had 2 segments, boy, would have been really clear, like, 50% of people are restaurateurs, 50% are vendors, but that wouldn't have been very interesting. So there's an art to finding the components, the primary components that are best for segmentation. And then we'll have Courtney take it away.
Yeah, so before I go to my slides, show of hands of how many people drink black coffee every day. How many people drink a latte? How many people drink a mocha? How many people just brew coffee at home? How many people don't drink coffee? So you can kind of see there's a variety. You might look around, you might see people that look at you. So we'll get into that, but why I'm here today is we just did this, right? We did this exercise. You come to all of these sessions and you're like, that's great, how is it applicable? Well, I'm gonna share how it can be applicable. So Caribou Coffee, we're based in Minnesota. We have about 400 locations in the US, and then we're also in the Middle East. What I'm gonna talk about is our fall menu items. So show of hands, who likes pumpkin drinks? See, I knew this crowd, it wasn't gonna be a lot, but there are some. So I love a pumpkin drink. What we were tasked with is we were gonna drive sales. So from you look at 2020 and you're like, oh, it's a year that is just kind of a wash, but we actually had really great sales specifically in pumpkin. We were tasked with grow it by 15% for pumpkin and then our maple waffle sandwich. If you're ever near Caribou, highly recommend the maple waffle sandwich. Average goals, decent goals, still gotta grow though. And we kind of had 2 paths. So we could have just said to our entire loyalty program, we have pumpkin, it's back, come get it, and then ended it there. Or we could use some of this clustering to identify, hey, maybe that person who drinks black coffee doesn't like a pumpkin beverage, but we can maybe do something to get them to try a pumpkin beverage. The other just interesting thing about Caribou, and you can kind of see the GIF, is we don't just have pumpkin. We have pumpkin white mochas. We have nitro. Our product team is very innovative. It's a lot to fit into an email, right? And so there we go. We went with the second one, clear. We wanted to use this clustering to reach the right people, to get them to try our products, and then come back once they taste it. We make our pumpkin beverages with real chocolate and real pumpkin. It's amazing. So we worked with Patronics, and we developed this 3-week campaign. So after our launch, people have been familiar. It's still September, which I know some people think pumpkin is too early. And we took the clusters and we made different groups. So you can see kind of on the left, the different groups. So a pressed coffee, a coffee of the day, a cold brew, they kind of buy the same thing. They maybe aren't rushing in to get it. And then our cooler, which is like a Frappuccino or a blended beverage, a non-coffee drinker, a tea, a latte, mocha, all again, pretty similar purchasing behaviors. They're willing to indulge and try, spend the extra calories, let their pants get a little too tight, Not speaking from experience, but that's what happens. And then our food group. So we're a coffee house. We sell really great coffee. We also sell really great food. We know when people come buy food, they're also going to buy a beverage. And then our last group is the previous purchasers. So these are the people that put a pumpkin on their head. They count down until August. They love pumpkin. And what we did the first week, so you can kind of see we got richer with the offer based on their purchasing behavior. And then for that previous purchaser, we did nothing. We just said, pick your pumpkin. It's great. Did a 90-10 target and control. And then the second week, we gave them an offer. And then on that last week, we targeted people that made it all the way through, and they didn't buy a single thing. So through launch, through this 3-week campaign, they didn't buy a single pumpkin or apple blast or maple waffle sandwich. This is only 3 weeks, but I want to walk through some results. So we saw a huge item lift and visit lift within our cooler, tea, and mocha. Our group A also saw a really high lift. So that that insight for us was, if we give a rich reward, these people, their behavior can change. Food was incredible with that 38% visit lift. And then you look at that 6% and you think, that's not a lot, right? It's not 20%. But we didn't give that group an offer. We just said, this is great, and come in after we had launched. Now, what's even better, this was 3 weeks that had been through launch, was our actual results from this. In past years, they had not done anything like this. They really had just done a blast out to all of our loyalty members of, this is great, come buy it, it's here. Now let's move on to mochas because some people don't like pumpkin. We saw pumpkin sales increase by 35% last year, which again, 2020 was up from 2019. We ran out of our pumpkin sauce 4 weeks early. I don't know if you guys know this, but it's a 6-week lead time to get pumpkin sauce. I did not know this. It's apparently a thing. We could have had a 45 to 50% increase of our sales. A lot of this can be attributed to this campaign. We were able to hit people with different types of beverages. We were able to tell them we have nitro. We were able to tell them, did you know you can get this as a crafted press with a little bit lighter calories, but same great taste? And then our maple waffle sandwich, same thing, ran out 3 weeks early, hit and achieved our goals there, and it could have also been a 20 to 25% increase. So it's a great program. It's amazing when, we're all sitting here and it's a pretty common sense thing, but when you give people the information that they want, they buy it, and then with the technology from Patronics, we're able to do that.
And you ran out.
And we ran out. The pumpkin debacle is infamous in the Caribou. Apparently we ran out the previous year, but nothing like this. So we learned some things, we apply this technology. So we've done this on a smaller scale. We've done it where we exclude certain groups. We did one recently where we excluded a food group and then gave a food offer because those food people, they normally buy it. And I guess I should back up. Our clusters are defined by people who bought that product at least 3 times. So they came in and they bought a black coffee at least 3 times. They bought a latte at least 3 times. You can exclude them, you can target them. We have a new beverage out right now, our sweet Thai latte. Again, delicious, I love it. And we just targeted our latte mocha drinkers and said, hey, come in, here's an offer, this is great, try this product out. And the second is, prior to this campaign, there were a lot of people on our team that said, no, you always have to hit an offer. This is a loyalty program. They want offers, they want points, we don't need to just do newsletters. But by showing that lift, we were able to say, well, actually we can just tell people our product's great. And then the last was just developing larger scale promotions. So as we look ahead to summer, we have a longer window for our products there. How do we keep the excitement up and get people to try different things like boosted mocktails or honey oat crafted pressed? Yeah, so it's great. I would say we use all of this technology. It's not just an exercise that you come to a conference and do. We use it every day, and I'm excited.
And I love that you do just information in
Yeah.
many cases, because that's what a lot of people crave.
Yep.
And something like pumpkin is pretty polarizing, right?
Yes.
You either love it, it's meh, like just don't tell me about it, or you hate it. And doing the right thing for those right people is a big deal.
Yeah, and I think what's also great about pumpkin and that previous purchaser, there are some people that buy pumpkin that don't want to tell people that they buy pumpkin. But, right? My husband is one of them. So,
Closet pumpkin.
yeah, he's a closet pumpkiner. But by having our purchase history, we're able to say, okay, no, we don't need to have him do that. We can get him to do that. Where the assumption really is males drink cold brew and black coffee, and they don't go for the frou-frou drinks, but I don't know. I don't think so. I've been looking at the data, and that's not always true. So, yeah, it's really great, great technology and great success.
All right. So then, we just focused on one of the things there, k-means, but if you really looked at the whole stretch of machine learning or AI in this, there were many more steps. So the first thing, and a lot of people think you can just take the computer and let it run and it always gives you the answer. It turns out, and I can tell you horror stories of things that have not worked when people try that. And we use at least 15 different AI algorithms. So it's not even one algorithm. We wouldn't use k-means clustering for everything. There are 15 different algorithms we use, and we use them tied to very specific problems we're trying to solve. So we would start with a goal. What is the marketer trying to achieve?
Yep.
Then some sort of data exploration, and then something called principal component analysis, where we would have done things like get rid of data points or merge data points. Maybe it doesn't matter the latte or the hot or the cold or the frozen. It's really about the modifiers and flavors,
Right.
and that's what you want to look at. Then we would do the k-means. And then there's a problem, because you noticed as there were more data points, the flags started to move. And that happens. So we may, in doing this, freeze the centroids, because we know those are good market segments. And it doesn't matter if people shift. You get more people in this group or that group. It's still the right way to market to them. And then we would do KNN, which is K nearest neighbor. And then we would go to a recommendation engine to say, what should you recommend for that group, which is a different piece of AI altogether. So that's just the steps that we would have involved. And I'd say the hardest part is the data exploration. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, in terms of the data side, right? The data exploration part?
Yeah.
Yep.
How much work did you have to do with Parago, right, to either scrub, change, relook and modify? Like, how much did they have to change to do what ultimately you guys did?
Yeah.
Or not, or you work within the constraint of how they're collecting the data or how their data is structured?
Yeah, great question.
I'm pretty sure they just worked with the data set that we have, and then there was some an algorithm that then created those clusters for us. Yeah.
So, and most of it, a lot of this data is coming out of the POS.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's a homogeneous POS system, one database, it's easier. But we find, here's a classic problem we'd find. You guys have done this terrible thing in your POS systems, where when someone enters an entree, you force a drink. Like some people do this, right? You want the cashier to say, what drink do you want? And so they have to hit a button to get to the next thing. So they hit water, no water. So when we do k-means clustering or something like that, water, no water come out as the strongest segments. And that's this silly POS, right? Mm-hmm. It's useless data. So we have to ignore that data. And that's part of data exploration and the PCA. So it's a great problem. And then if you have more databases, the hygiene of that matters. And then we work hand in hand where we come up with segments, and it's like, hey, these are really cool. And sometimes Courtney goes, well, what would I do with that?
Right. And that is exactly in this example that we walked through. Like, I went to Petronix and I was like, all right, we're just trying to get people to try it. And they came back and, looking at it, okay, did these really make sense? And does this beverage make sense? And I was like, well, a cooler is probably more closely related to a mocha than just a black coffee where it originally had been. And so it's all hand in hand all the way through the process, actually, like from here's the goal to execution and sending of emails and all of that.
Yeah. And then we do the target and control so we can pull out a scientific test group and know the efficacy.
Yep.
So, we use goal setting at Paytronics, OKRs. That's something Google and a bunch of Silicon Valley companies do. And we have a goal of 15 billion touch points. So we're working on 15 billion guest touch points this year, and to have 25% of those driven by AI of some sort, and this would be one example. And then to prove an efficacy where the AI is 25% more effective than what humans do on their own. And and usually it's the coupling of the two that really knocks it out of the park, where Courtney has an insight and goes, I bet they'd love. And when that happens, we know we're onto something great.
Yep.
So we're doing this in other areas. And people talk about getting to one-to-one. So you may have a segment, but then what you do after that can hit to one-to-one. So you can still change the message. And you can change the time and the place. We found day of week. So if you have a message that goes out and it's not time sensitive, it's moms, dads, and grads or something like that. If we send it on a Tuesday for a Tuesday person versus sending it on Friday, 52% more likely to come in. So it's not open, it's that they did something. People open their emails 18 times a day. But picking the right day can make an impact because they don't remember things 4 days later. So picking the right day that they could take an action really matters. So we pick the right time of day, we score everyone, and then we're, in some cases, changing the image out. We're working with a sandwich chain, and if turns out, if you like a ham and cheese sandwich, if I show you an Italian, it doesn't matter. You're equally likely to come in. But if you like tuna fish, if I show you an Italian, you're not coming in. If I show you tuna fish, 100% more likely to come in. Because they go there. That's how they think of the sandwich chain. They don't think of them for anything else. Turkey, it's just tuna fish. And the same goes for veggie sandwiches. Twice as likely to come in, not just open and read, but to come in if I show you the right image. And that gets to the efficacy of 25%. And then, we're scoring people. Are you likely to be lapsed? And we have a 3-tiered strategy for that, where when you've slowed down, we'll give you a nudge. And it's up to you what the nudge is.
Yeah, and we use that quite often, right? So it's like, all right, we look at our program, and we're like, we have 65% of our people coming in on an active basis. So then how do we get the person that left? How do we get them? I mean, we're going to go to the one-to-one campaigns, and we have that running with our win-back thing, but can we just target them? Can we give them a rich offer and come back in? And we've done that quite a bit and seen a result on that. Yeah.
And with a one-to-one win-back,
Yep.
We're seeing this doing the nudge when they slow down, and then when they're lapsing, a motivational offer, and then a win-back, an aggressive
Yep.
offer when we're 80% sure they're going to lapse. It's 600% better than what a marketer will do on their own.
And the time. If I was messaging every single person or having to create a new email every single time, that's a lot of time to do. Do you want to devote that? Or you can just, we set up the series exactly as was just described, but hey, we have a mocha, it's really great, come, remember it's here, then try a size upgrade. Oh, here's a $3 beverage. Really hitting them with that. It's a time saver from a corporate standpoint.
So now we have the right offer going out at the right day of the week, at the right time, because if we wait 120, if you came in every 4 days and we don't try to get you back till 6 months, it's too late. So the right time to reach you with the right offer, and if we're switching out the email images, that's really one-to-one.
Yep.
So we're going to open it up to QA and answer any questions that people have. Yeah?
Let's just
launch a program, typically how long do you see it take to make the data that you're collecting catch? So how much time is it?
So usually it takes about 6 months. Before then, we can collect data, and it tends to, and this won't surprise anybody, but it tends to be very good for your heavy users, right? Because your heavy users, if they're coming in once a week, well, we get 4 touch points really quickly, and they tend to join your programs quickly. So, but the less frequent people, it really takes about 6 months because they don't come in that frequently. That's a great question.
Have other Caribou or other clients you work with, have they used what they've learned from their own data and turned it into customer acquisition?
Yeah, we have used this data to kind of create segments and then profiles. We use Sense 360 as well, but kind of using the two to sandwich and then use those personas to go after, and then also thinking of specific paid media around different products, like excluding our list and then targeting the lookalike audience for that.
So social media lookalike advertising?
Yep, yeah, we use that all the time.
People who look like this. So again, they're using AI, but yeah.
Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah.
So how do you use, so this data that you've crafted, how do you export that into some sort of social media or online ordering campaign or some other system that Paytronics doesn't necessarily interface with?
Yeah, so with our program, we capture email, a name, normal things like that. And with Paytronics, we can export reports. And so we just export that list and then share it with our agency who runs the paid media. So
How do you use it for, say, real-time menu suggestion type stuff? Some of that e-commerce type of API webhook type stuff that we've been talking about.
yeah, Caribou currently hasn't done that. We're working on it. We're working on our online ordering and launching our new app, and then we'll leverage that, but we currently don't. Yep.
So we have some integrations where where the partner is grabbing a real-time profile from us. And so the profile can include recommendations inside of it or just profile information from which to make recommendations.
So the segmentation is within the profile based off of the data, and then they're pulling that out from some APIs to recommend upsell.
Exactly, yeah. So it's kind of like the who is this person account lookup type thing, and we can send back more information. And it can either include the recommendation as a score, or it could be profile information, data points that they make their own recommendation from.
Yep.
But, and we're doing this for convenience store gas stations as well. And they have 10,000 SKUs to do different types of recommendations to get people to try different categories and to come back in. So we have a next best category style recommendation engine. What's the most likely thing that you would want to buy next? Yeah.
Can you pull that data just from loyalty customers, or does the Paytronics order and delivery also allow you access to that data?
So as long as we get the data feed, we can use the data. And then there's some privacy questions, and it depends on your privacy policy. So does your privacy policy have we won't track you, or is it just communicate to you? But if your privacy policy allows it, whatever data feed you can get us, we can track those people. It's a great question. And we could also do survey. So sometimes we mix survey questions in with the data. One example is kids meals, kid meal programs. And it turns out that 20% of people lie about whether they have children. And it's like every single brand we work with. And it probably doesn't surprise anyone, but there are a lot of people that don't want to tell you because it's none of your business and they're protective of their kids. And there are other people that forget they have kids. So But if you do the
Yeah.
combination of the survey and what they buy, that combination, it's really, really crisp. All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Cool. All right, well, thanks for coming,
Yep.
and you are all now certified. Certified K-means clustering, data points, and computer experts.
Thank you.